Right, hi guys, Sarah from EarthWise again, just bringing to the table something that's been really pertinent in my clinic this week. Typically after a long, grey, wet winter, this is a subject that comes to the fore, and it's obviously about immune resistance. So yeah, I've got a lot of people coming in at the moment having suffered a lot over winter with cold viruses, coughs that they haven't really been able to get on top of so well as usual, and they come in with the question, what supplements can I do to boost my immune system? And I've been telling people that it's very important that we understand actually what the immune system is comprised of, because until we know what it is comprised of, our attitude is simply going to be that. Can I take some more vitamin C? Can I take some more vitamin D? Will it make a difference? Will my immune system suddenly kick off and be much better? So I thought for today's video, what I'd love to do is impart some information about the structure of the immune system, what the system really is designed to do for us, and how we can actually better each part of that, give us some empowering tools beyond just taking more vitamin C and vitamin D, because it just doesn't really work. So the most important thing really is to understand that as a system it works as an orchestra does. You know, there'll be different areas that have different sounds and different jobs to do, and when it comes together, that is when the orchestra comes together as one entity, as a whole. And it's exactly the same actually with our immune systems. We have pretty much, I think, 3 separate individual phases would be a fair way of putting it. And so what I thought we'd do is look at each one individually and establish what we need to do in order to make that the healthiest possible environment. Not really just so that we can fight off colds and coughs and flus and snivels better, but more importantly because our immune system is also in command of the amount of inflammation that happens in our body. It's very much dependent on our recovery rate from these things, and more importantly whether or not we then harbour these potentially very harmful pathogens within our body or not, causing more serious problems. So the first line of defense is actually called the barrier defenses, and this is our first line of protection. And a barrier literally means what it says it means. It's a barrier. This includes our skin, and most importantly it concerns the linings of our nasal passages, eyes, throat, and further down in the body. Now these mucus linings are designed very carefully and aided massively by the amount of healthy gut biome, bacteria, microorganisms and pathogens that we've actually got in our lining. So for a refresh of how we can improve our gut biome, I suggest what you do is watch the other video that I did a while ago where I detailed quite specifically how we can help that. But in short, these mucosal linings are really what a virus will hit, a virus or a pathogen will hit as its first point of entry into our bodies. Now, if we've got healthy linings, thick but not gooey, that actually can trap the virus at that point, what people tend to experience is the first signs of a viral infection. They might get a slightly sore throat, they might get a slightly snivelly nose, aggravated nose, might feel a little bit heady. But after probably a night's sleep, drinking some water, keeping hydrated, they bounce up the next morning and they feel fine. And the difference between somebody who doesn't feel fine and then the virus takes hold is because it then has to go on to the second stage of the immune reaction cascade response. So this really is why some people suffered incredibly badly with symptoms when COVID, SARS-2 virus, was around 5 years ago. And I think it all came down to how good the initial defense was in a person's body. The more toxic an environment in the gut, the less gut biome that there was, and more sludge, I guess, there was for that virus to take hold on, the more people seem to suffer with their respiratory symptoms after that. So if this barrier is in good tact, the virus cannot then get through to the next stage, which is to go through the lining of the stomach and then enter into the bloodstream. Now, the bloodstream is where we then depend on the second immune reactions to kick into place, and this is an immediate response. There needs to be no prior knowledge of that pathogen in the system, but immediately we'll have this cascade of good bacteria in our bloodstreams that is will engulf the bacteria, the viruses and other things that come into the system, and basically either biodegrade it then or escort it out of the body. That's their job. And if that is successful, then hopefully the virus, the pathogen such as norovirus, rotavirus, etc., will stay in the environment for a short period of time. And then as those natural immune cells kick in and start to elevate our immune system, we should start to get rid of them and process them out. In some cases, though, those defense mechanisms in that part and very important macrophages, neutrophils and natural killer cells, they can then be overwhelmed by the pathogen that's entered the bloodstream and think that they do a sort of good job of getting rid of it. But in actual fact, what will happen is that virus can remain dormant in our systems for a good many years after that. And one good example of that is the Epstein-Barr virus, which causes glandular fever. So we get an initial glandular reaction to it and we have terrible symptoms, and then we think, oh, it's okay, it's sort of like passed through our systems now, but in actual fact it's gone and it's become a latent virus that can raise its head from time to time, which is commonly why people then get chronic fatigue. Shingles, herpes simplex virus and chickenpox are also other examples of these viruses that do that. So it's really important that this second stage is improved, and it can be improved, and at the end I'll talk about ways that we can obviously improve these areas. The last one is more of a sort of long-term sort of protocol that the immune system has been is in our systems, and basically it is an adaptive immune response. And basically what that means is that we will be subjected to a pathogen or a virus or a bacteria, and our immune system goes in, and it's where our white blood cells, T cells, B cells come into play, and they will recognize that pathogen. They'll start a cascade of memory to remember what it was, so that they've got the artillery, I guess, there if ever there was that pathogen to come back in. And that, of course, is what modern day immunization protocol is based on. The fact that if we give somebody a little bit of something, then if it comes down the road later on, there may be a measles epidemic, for example, and already the system has got a code in its white blood cells to attack. The defenses are already there. The soldiers are already employed, and they just need to be kind of clicked into action. There are many problems as far as naturopaths and other healthcare practitioners feel about that sort of protocol, but that's another subject entirely, and one I'd be delighted to go into, because I think it's a very interesting subject to cover, this sort of natural immunity versus imposed immunity. But the point of the white blood cells, B cells and T cells at that point is to really tag these serious viruses and then engulf them and take them out of the system. And it is a system that's integral. Its skills are about recognizing pathogens that they've sort of seen in the past, remembering them for years, and then kicking into action when they are required, basically. These are very much supported by things like omega-3 essential fatty acids, which help the immune function. Vitamin D is a very important nutrient in this case as well. But on the whole, the most important thing for the overall immune system comes down to the diet that we follow, following a very colourful rainbow type of vegetable and fruit type of diet, eating foods as clean as possible, obviously, making sure that gut biome is absolutely an integral part, that our bacteria in our guts is healthy, eating lots of fermented foods, keeping very hydrated, prioritizing sleep and management of stress, of course, are very important factors. But there are certain herbs such as echinacea that increase white blood cells. There is elderberry, there is garlic that is a fantastic natural antibiotic, and there is an adaptogenic herb called astragalus or astragalus, which again is used by herbalists such as myself to really just bolster that in times of need. The vitamins C, D, selenium, zinc, and like I said, the omega-3s are also really important for this sort of protocol, but it's not as simple as just taking those vitamins and expecting everything to flourish. Again, it's like a garden. It needs to be tended in lots of different ways so that we can employ the system to look after us rather than just an aspect of that. So yeah, I hope that's been helpful. That's it for this time. I could go on talking for ages about this subject, but I think I'll break it down so it's easier to comprehend. So I hope that's been informative. I hope that it's been clear, and I hope that it will empower you slightly to know how you can look after your own immune system. So until next time, bye for now, and hopefully leaving you in good health until I speak next time. Bye for now.